Will the United States of America run out of money?
And what does that mean for your hard-earned dollars?
We're going to unpack this big question. During these uncertain times, I think many people get worried when we get to that debt ceiling. What should you be thinking about? How will it impact your money? And what you should really do about it right now.
Welcome back to our podcast segment of our channel. I'm Andrew Toccaceli, Senior Vice President here with W.A. Smith Financial.
And I'm Bill Smith, CEO here of W.A. Smith Financial. Very excited to unpack this, Andrew, and really just kind of unravel all of this. You know, we talk about what does this really mean at the end of the day?
Yeah, I mean, there's lingering issues out there being talked about. We've talked about the debt ceiling here. You've referenced. We have an interest rate environment that we haven't seen really since the 1990s. Mm-hmm. And we've been hearing about the recession word for the last, 12 to 18 months. So that leads to, maybe some panic or some confusion by many of you out there of what does this all mean? What does this mean for my money?
And ultimately it could result in maybe knee-jerk reactions, making a decision that you'd later regret financially. So I think it's important to stay grounded, but to first understand the debt ceiling is not a bad thing, because I hate to say it, our politicians, I don't care which side of the aisle you're on, they're like drunken sailors. I mean, they're spending money. And so the debt ceiling, since it was enacted in 1960,
Yep.
Okay, is designed to have Congress come together in a bipartisan manner to be able to spend our tax dollars in a sensible way. Now, this is not going to become a political podcast, okay? We're going to stay very focused on the money component of this, right? And how historically and how many times this has actually happened. Right. So when you start to think of it like that, and quite frankly, what is the debt? What is it right now? We pulled up some numbers, and you have some numbers on this.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling.
I'll tell you, for anybody out there, if you haven't checked out the usdebtclock.org, it's fascinating to
Well, it
to
is,
see.
but it's scary too at the same time.
You got it. And we're looking at, a debt ceiling of $31.4 trillion, I believe is kind of what it has been updated to, and hence the reason for this conversation to be happening right now is we're approaching that. We've kind of hit that, and Janet Yellen has come out and said that we may not be able to make payments come June 1st, and that can be scary.
Yeah, and ironically, I've got some all the correspondence between the United States Treasury and Congress, and the letter from Secretary Yellen got in the hands of Congress on May 1st, 2023, and by the way, this is the second letter from Yellen to Congress. The first one was in January, and now the second one is more of a, hey guys, it's time to get serious here, because we're fastly approaching the limit. And when the U.S. starts talking about the possibility of not being able to pay their debts, not only does it worry U.S. citizens, it also it sends a shockwave around the world, because the United States treasuries are, to this day, are the building block and the foundation of the world. And still today, I know some of you may find this hard to believe, are still some of the safest place to put your money.
Yeah.
That being said, if we go back and look at it, Andrew, share some of these facts. How many times has the debt ceiling been raised since 1960, since that ceiling went into place? and then we'll really kind of break down what does that mean.
Yeah, so I think that's the key, is that this isn't anything new. We've seen this happen, and it's been heavy into the news. You know, you look back in 2011 and 13 and 2019, we had these moments come up. You said we're not going to get political, and I'm going to avoid going political, but
It's easy to do.
The reason this is so heavy in the headlines right now is because you can't deny the fact that we have, pretty hardcore partisan politics right now, and that's the fear out there, is that we have a debt ceiling that's approaching, and we got two sides, that don't get along, right? And they're both
not
trying
only
to
do they not get along, I don't care which side you're on. There is a bunch of, excuse my French, not good crap inside these bills that they pass that spend money, and like we've seen ballooning debt that's happened. It's skyrocketed with the COVID-19 pandemic, the war in Iraq, Afghanistan, and this has created that. Not only that, you've mentioned, Andrew, rising interest rates. All of this is kind of a compounding factor that has kind of gone into that. When we pulled this USDebtClock.org at what time and day was this, just for reference?
May 2nd, lunchtime.
Lunchtime, May 2nd, 2023, 31,720,790,505,546. That is just really hard to wrap your head around that. Have you said that lately?
That was impressive to say that the right way, but
now that basically, now this is also interesting that we can break this down into two other components that says that's $94,765 per U.S. citizen, per legal U.S. citizen.
Get your checkbooks out, everybody.
Yep. Now, per taxpayer, that comes down to $247,766 per taxpayer. Now, let's not get into the minutia of what they're disagreeing about, but let's all agree that I think we can all agree, no matter what our beliefs are, that we should spend money on a common sense basis. And the purpose, what is the purpose of deficit spending, right?
Yeah.
It's the purpose of it is to create opportunity for our economy, for our citizens, for jobs, and this debt ceiling being reached, you're hearing the threats could have catastrophic consequences. And I've been through this so many times in my career. I've been doing this 27 years. And every time, and I've lost count how many times this has occurred. Maybe you know some numbers here.
Yeah, I mean, it's somewhere in that ballpark of about 78, either temporarily or permanent,
since 1960. Okay, so there have been several since I started in 1994 in this industry. But certainly when we break this down, there needs to be, and by the way, what I think the myth that exists is, okay, this is future spending. No, the debt ceiling needs to be raised to cover what we've already spent.
Right.
Really important for people to understand. This is spent money. This isn't about money. So it's not about money we're talking about spending. This is about money that's already been promised. We owe it. And another interesting fact was that we have never defaulted. In the history of our country, have never defaulted on our debt. However, in 2011, for the first time in American history, the Standard & Poor's, which is a rating agency, issued the first ever downgrade on the federal government's credit rating. And so what happened in 2011? Well, and we go back and we could talk about all of the negative things that's happened, okay, from in any of those times, right? We could talk about headline risks, we could talk about all the negative news, but one thing stands true and strong through every time we've done it. We've hit that debt ceiling, we've come out of it. There's opportunity. There will be opportunity one way or another. And so don't get hurt through all of this, through the fear. Don't get hurt. Don't make that knee-jerk reaction. And we'll break down, some of the things that you should be thinking about.
Yeah, and what we're seeing right now is it's really recency bias, right? It's what's happening right now, so now it's big. But you mentioned 2011, and I think when that default happened, we saw the Dow Jones drop 600, 700 points, which at the time was one of the biggest
Well, it wasn't
daily
a default.
drops.
It was a downgrade. It was a downgrade. So the downgrade, and just that alone,
caused market volatility.
Now,
we could run the gamut on, okay, what's the market done since that daily drop? And, I don't have those numbers handy, but I can tell you the market has gone up probably 200 to 300%.
If you would have bought in 2011, you would be smiling today, and in terms of a return. But the moral of the story is that you are going to be hit with a flood of information, and how you interpret this information is going to be critically important. And I would ask, how do you want to interpret it?
Right.
Right? I mean, everybody gets to interpret this one of two ways. You're either going to look at this as the glass is half empty or the glass is half full. Now, I would tell you that it is probably in your better interest to look at things as glass half full. That being said, I think it just depends. Right? Like, what is your timeline?
Correct.
And this is something that's important that we talked about. Like, are we looking at in the next 12 months? Are we looking at in the next 5 years? What is your timeline that determines how you look at this?
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what it is, and here's the opportunity I see. You mentioned half glass full, and that's what we look at. Well, for people who have a timeline of maybe they need money in the next 12 to 18 months, guess what? Interest rates, we talked about, are at this,
we haven't seen these since
1994, and that's creating opportunity on the short end side of things, where, hey, you need money, you need a buffer for the next 3 years. Great, we have great interest rates to be able to take advantage of and be able to put those dollars off, which can now afford you the time on maybe those growth-oriented dollars, where you shouldn't let the fear mongers come out and convince you otherwise to sell everything and go buy gold or go do this or go do that. We've seen this happen. The debt ceiling. We've had these same issues over and over and over. We talked about
Groundhog Day.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's opportunity for the country. So this is going to continue to happen. What's going to happen?
This won't be the last time, probably, either.
What's going to happen? Congress is going to come together, in the coming weeks, and they're going to discuss, right? And Bill, I don't know about you, but I think there's a vested interest in all of those government officials, Republicans or Democrats, that they want to get something done. Mm-hmm. Whether that happens permanently or maybe they kick the can down the road a little bit, and we've seen some suspensions and things of that. Something's going to take place, right? We've seen it happen over time, and I think there's going to be some market opportunities at the end of the day.
Yeah, I can't agree more. And I love your point you made about the buffer zone, which is a tremendous strategy that historically hasn't worked very well. And in every debt ceiling we've reached since 2008, and we've had several since 2008, where they've raised the debt ceiling, during those times, the difference was you couldn't take couldn't take money and earn interest. So
Right.
we're seeing interest rates today that we haven't seen. Now, the flip side of that coin is that's causing that debt to exponentially now start compounding and going up.
Right.
And so use this as an opportunity, but you may be in the camp that you don't want to look at this as an opportunity. You may want to look at this as the world's coming to an end. And I can tell you that in 27 years that has not been historically the best way to look at that.
Can I
And you
share?
got-
Can
you
I
got-
share?
I know you have some great
Yeah, I want
point
to
you
share.
want to
I
share
want to share
here.
something on that. I mean, you're looking at just since December of 2021, was the last all-time high we saw on the S&P. We're still about as of May of 2023 here. We're about 13 to 15% off of those highs. That alone, I look at as say there's some opportunity, right? However, you can go even further. Since 1988, so coming out of the 87 recession that
Black
we had,
Monday.
Black Monday, we have seen 600 all-time highs set within the S&P since then. So, markets cycle. If you
Economies.
stay disciplined and you understand the purpose of why you're doing what you're doing, again, this is why we feel there's market opportunity there versus glass half empty.
Yeah, and the golden rule is, when is the best time to invest? I love this question. People always ask me, when is the best time to invest? Because everybody wants to invest. They want to make money. Why else would you be doing it? When's the best time to invest? And the answer is the day you have money. The next best time is when the market or the news is at its worst.
Yep.
If you really, and you can't really time it. That's the problem, right? So the economy goes through cycles just like we have seasons. Now, depending on where you're at, you may have 2 seasons, you may have 4 seasons. But at the end of the day, when you think of the weather, we have seasons: spring, summer, fall, and winter. In the economy, and I don't know, where are we at right now? What do you think?
The Midwest is pretty
In
volatile.
the fall, we in the fall coming into winter for the economy. I think it's the question that a lot of people want answers to, but I think the most important thing is to stay calm and to realize if you have short-term money that's invested in the market, you're likely to see some volatility.
Yep.
That being said, use the volatility as an opportunity to maybe add some more to some really good investment names that you have. Or if your time frame is shorter, like you said, Andrew, take that opportunity. We can go you got money market rate opportunities right now, money market accounts paying over 4%, liquid money.
Yep.
We have not seen that. It's been a war on savers since 2008. And so, cautiously optimistic here, certainly, but you need a plan, and that's really what it all boils down to, having that guidance to keep yourself buffered between fear and greed.
Yeah, and defining purpose to your money, why you own what you own, what's the time horizon around it. But don't fall victim. At the end of the day, don't fall victim to the headline risk that is out there. We've seen this happen before. We've been there. We've done that. The market, the United States, the economy is resilient.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Well said, Andrew. Well, hopefully this eased some of your concerns on the U.S. running out of money. Hopefully we answered your question. If not, if you could, please drop those into our comments for specific questions or any other information you would like to hear from us here on this podcast to help bring financial peace of mind to you.
Yeah, like this video if it provided some value to you. Subscribe to our channel for more content like this, and check out the next video.
See you next time.